and welcome to today's edition of Cafe Diversity. I'll be your host, Sarah Nada. As always, today's show is brought to you by WCG-TV and Westman Immigrant Services. Today I've got a very special guest with me. If you could just tell us a bit about who you are and where you're from.
Yes. My name is Nidhi and I come from India.
Okay.
I was an international student when I first came to Canada, and now we're on our path to being a permanent resident in Canada, so I hope that would be done. And then maybe I'd be a permanent resident in Canada as soon as possible.
Very nice, good. So you mentioned that you were an international student. So when you were an international student, where did you come to in Canada? Did you come right to Manitoba, or were you somewhere else first?
I was in Ontario.
Okay.
And I came to Seneca I was studying in Seneca in Toronto.
Okay.
And I took project management environmental over there. Basically, I finished my graduation in India, which was a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I thought that doing a degree from anywhere around the world, maybe that would help me boost my career. And Canada was one of the choices, as I was looking forward to do project management. And I found a course which was there over here, and that's how I came to Seneca.
Okay. How long was that program? Was it like a 1-year program,
Yes.
a 2-year program? 1 year? Okay,
Yeah, that was a graduate certificate program.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, basically, I think their first set of clearance would mean that you have to have an undergraduate degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was one of the thing that was a prerequisite, I should say, that
Okay.
you have to have an undergraduate degree. And then you could start off with project management, so
Cool.
that's what I did.
All right, sounds good. So when you were thinking of continuing your education to boost your future career, as you were saying,
Yeah.
you have the entire world to pick from, right? So
Why do I pick the coldest country?
yes, what made you decide wonderful, cold, snowy Canada?
Well, that was just nothing to do with the winters over here. I certainly like Canada now. First winter, of course, that made me have second thoughts, because my country is not this cold, and it never snows from the place where I am.
Yeah.
So yes, it was pretty exciting to see your first snow and enjoy and have fun outside. And when you're in Ontario, you could go out and play in the snow. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I had a wonderful experience in Ontario. Manitoba, I've not had a chance of going out and playing in the snow so far, and I don't intend to do it any longer. But yes, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
Okay, but how come Canada? Why did Canada win out of everywhere else in the world?
Basically, when I finished my graduation, I wanted to do a postgraduate diploma.
Okay.
So I was looking at a lot of options. I've been to UK before, so I was wanting to go to UK, but I couldn't find a course appealing to what I wanted to do. And then there were basically two countries I was looking at. One was England, and the other one was Canada.
Okay.
Canada was another reason to choose Canada was I have a huge maternal family in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So maybe staying in the same continent helps than staying 1,200 kilometers away.
Yeah, that's a bit far.
Yeah, 12,000 I should say. And yeah, so Canada, I chose Canada out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
But it did help me a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your maternal family, so your mother's side of the family.
Yes.
A lot of them are in the United States, so why didn't you think to go to school in the United States then?
I didn't want to go and pursue a master's.
Okay.
Because I wanted a career. I wanted to take it to a different level. I did my Bachelor of Science, so basically my degree was a mix of a little bit of management, a little bit of economics, a little bit of science, lots of chemistry, of course. But I wanted to go towards a different prospect of it and not carry on with a master's degree in environmental science. And I haven't had an option of looking into any postgraduate diplomas in the United States because most of the universities would be offering you masters and
I see.
And there were a lot of other requirements as well.
Okay.
Because in bachelor's in India is of 3 years.
Okay.
The U.S. universities would want you to complete a 4-year undergraduate degree.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how that is not equivalent, but somehow they don't consider it equivalent.
Okay.
So you have to finish a lot of credits and finish some other courses and make up for those credits and then apply for masters, and
So it
that
was
would
more
just
work
mean
in the end,
more
right?
work, yes.
Okay. Well, then
So
that
it
makes
was-
sense.
It was easier to get a postgraduate degree in Canada.
Okay.
And I think that makes more sense as well, because you're not wasting time, plus you're taking your career to the next level where you want it to be.
Right.
So that really helps. And I've seen that a lot of students from my country choose Canada for the same reason, because they don't want to hop into masters directly.
Right.
Or maybe make a different career choice and start off with a postgraduate diploma, because that really helps, like that counts, right? So it does make sense that you do a 1-year postgraduate diploma and then go from there.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more time to relax, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
a master's would be very intensive as well.
Exactly.
And whereas I'm sure a 1-year program can also be intensive, it's on a little bit of a different level
Yeah.
than a master's
Yeah.
degree. So that's good. That makes sense. So when you were looking at schools in Canada, you had decided on lovely, snowy, cold Canada. I love it. You said you went to Seneca College in Toronto.
Yes,
So
I
what
did.
was it about that school that appealed to you?
Actually, I was applying through Ontario College's website.
Okay.
And I was looking for courses, and that's how this program came into light. So what happens is that a lot of schools in Ontario happen to offer you project management, but Seneca offers you project management environmental, which had an environmental character in the program, and that would mean that you are taking courses like environmental management, environmental law. So I had those courses as well, along with my project management. And yeah, so that's like it's not taking you away completely towards project management, which would be like a lot of engineers and
Right.
people like that taking up. And it made more sense because I had my bachelor's in environmental science,
exactly.
right?
So you get to keep the environmental part of it. It makes
Yeah.
it a little bit more related and allows you to specialize, like you were saying too, to give your career that little
Yeah.
boost to be like, look at all the fancy things that I can do. All right, well, that's good. So you were in Ontario, you were in Toronto for a year. What made you decide to come to Brandon?
Initially, I moved to Winnipeg, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I had two things in my head. My first priority was I would work. I would find a job, and I would start working. But it's not that easy,
Right.
to get a job and to get a field job rather than getting just a job, because getting
Right.
just a job would be easier, but
Yeah.
getting a job which you like or starting your career from somewhere would be a difficult situation. So I came to Winnipeg because I tried my luck in Toronto, but it wasn't happening.
Okay.
I even did an internship in Toronto, but I don't know, the people were not really wanting to hire graduates at that point of time. They wanted someone who had experience. So yeah, to gain experience, you have to start from somewhere.
Right.
I thought I moved to Winnipeg because I initially applied to a few companies in Winnipeg, and I had an interview in Winnipeg. So I thought that maybe I'd move to Winnipeg and find a job. And then I found out that I have, like my maternal uncle has one of his friends who is in Brandon. And then I got in contact with him, and he's like, you could move to Brandon, and even Brandon, if you even want to start school again, because ACC has this option. They had an environmental technologies course, and that had two options. Either you could go for GIS or you could go for land and water management and things like that. It's pretty fancy. So he's like, you would have two options. Either you find a job or maybe go and take school again. So I moved to Brandon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had sort of somebody, not necessarily your blood relative,
Yeah.
like you were saying, it's your maternal family, your uncle's friend.
Yeah, yeah.
That's here.
Yeah, that's like
all very connected, which is still nice. So it wasn't
Some
like you're
connections.
completely alone, though,
Yeah.
right? You had someone that you either knew very well or you
Yes.
knew of, and you felt comfortable with, and
Yes.
that's what brought you here to the second
Otherwise,
largest
coming
city.
to Brandon would be like completely I don't know. I wouldn't be acquainted to anyone.
Right.
Otherwise.
You would have been completely alone, which
Yeah.
would make it that much scarier. Did you know anybody in Winnipeg when you were there?
No.
No. Okay.
I didn't know anybody in Winnipeg. I was there. I had a couple of friends who moved in with me, who moved along with
okay.
me. So, yeah, we were like 3 to 4 people who came together from Toronto. They were not in the same program as I was.
Right.
But, yeah, we made friends, and they were also moving to Winnipeg
Okay.
because they had similar interests. They wanted to get a job, and it was easier for them to get, like, they were thinking of starting to apply for their provincial nominees and
Right.
get their PR and things like that. So they're like, it would be easier if we were in Manitoba, because Manitoba is quite open to immigrants,
Right.
as of Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that easy a job to apply and get a provincial nominee in Ontario. It's a little bit trickier part in Ontario,
Okay.
because they have a lot of it's quite demanding.
Right.
Actually, you have to
Yeah.
have a few hours done, and it has to be in your field. It has to
Oh,
be what
my.
you've studied and things like that.
That's very intensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Manitoba is a little bit lenient. not really. Obviously,
Slightly
they're not
more
gonna,
relaxed,
Yes.
just a little bit. Okay, well that's good. So when you were done at Seneca and the time that you were moving and looking for work, were you still under a student visa? Had you changed to a work visa yet, or what was your status?
I was on my off-campus work permit, actually.
Okay.
So I had my off-campus work, my study permit. Somehow they gave me a study permit which was longer than my 1-year course.
Okay.
I am assuming it was because in just in case people fail,
Right.
and they have to do another semester or something, then they don't have to renew their study permit. So I had 6 more months on my study permit
Oh,
rather
that's
than
nice.
Yeah. So my study permit hadn't expired.
Okay.
And I still had my study permit. So when you have your study permit, your off-campus work permit is also valid.
Okay.
So I had my off-campus work permit with me, and I was waiting for my graduation certificate.
Okay.
Actually, because when you have to apply for a postgraduate work permit, which is the
Oh.
one which you apply after graduation,
Okay.
so you have to have your graduate certificate with you.
Oh, okay.
So Seneca only released those in June or July. I don't
okay.
quite
So it took
remember.
quite a bit
Yes.
before you actually got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I had a couple of months, 3 to 4 months on hand.
Okay.
And which really helps you, right?
Yeah.
Because at least you know what you want to do. Because a few people, they are not really sure if they would find a job or not, like me.
Right.
So I did not find a job, and maybe I would want to start studying again.
Right.
So if you have a study permit on hand, that really helps. Then you just need to renew, because if a school accepts you, that's what the Canadian government wants, that you
Okay.
should have enough of financial standing, and you should have an acceptance letter from a school. And if they accept you, and if you have the money to support yourself with the fees, with lodging, boarding, food, and other expenses, then they would certainly extend your study permit and renew it.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And when you first came to Brandon, did you go to Assiniboine Community College like your uncle was mentioning, or did you work
I
right
actually
away?
tried to get a job.
Okay.
And I applied to a couple of companies in Brandon. You don't have so many options, so
Right.
around Brandon.
Okay.
And but it wasn't that easy.
Right.
You would get a call, but then there would be an interview. A few people would want you to move, and I didn't want to leave Brandon.
Right, you just
because
got
I was yeah, I just got here, and I was really scared first of all,
Right.
because Toronto was very, very, very huge.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yes.
Brandon is not that big.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if they ask you to move to the PA, which would be
Right.
like really strange in my case, because I'm not even, I hardly know the country. And then I had to move to another place. And,
Right.
and that would just be
A lot of jumping around.
Yeah.
It's very
And that
disruptive.
was challenging, I guess.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do that. So.
Okay, so when you were looking for a job and it was either outside of town they wanted you to move, is that when you decided that maybe you
I should
tried going
start
back to school?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. And I was pretty late to apply. I
Okay.
remember that clearly, but somehow I could manage to get in.
Okay.
And I started with environmental technologies.
Okay.
And I took up the land and water management program.
Oh, okay.
It's a very, very nice program. The teachers are very good at ACC, very helpful. And I finished an entire term over there. It was a 2-year program, so I didn't get a chance to finish the entire program because what I found was it was not what I was looking for.
Yeah, it just wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you tried.
Yeah.
You got some more experience, and you got to meet more people in Brandon and get more exposed to our lovely little community and everything
and
like that.
It was actually quite a nice experience, I would say, because once I started school, I met all the people coming in, because in ACC you have students coming in from a lot of small hamlets around, in and around Brandon, and people even coming from Saskatchewan, as far as
that's very true,
So I met a lot of people, and it was quite a cultural thing, I would say.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting.
Well, that's good. So you've been in Brandon now for about 2 years.
Yes.
Right? So what's making you stay in Brandon? Why do you want to continue being here?
I actually found my husband here.
That works. That works very well.
That really works very well, right? That's the major reason.
Okay.
So and then I started working.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I got married and those things. So my husband pretty much likes Brandon a lot as well, and I like Brandon too.
Yeah.
So we're even wanting to get a place over here in Brandon.
Oh, okay.
So at least we would be settling for near future in Brandon. I really like Brandon because Brandon resembles to the town from where I come from.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
So yeah, it's like, it's the same way how you can be anywhere in like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's really convenient.
Yes.
I usually laugh when people complain on the radio about how long the commute is here in Brandon. Oh, it's 15 minutes, and
I wouldn't complain.
I know, to me, I'm like, I can listen to 3 songs on the radio. That's perfect. I won't get interrupted. So you said you met your husband here in Brandon. Is your husband also from India, or is he?
He's from India.
Oh, he's from India as well. Okay.
Yeah. He as well came to Canada as an international student.
Okay.
So he finished his program in Seneca as well.
Oh,
and then
interesting.
We didn't meet in Seneca.
That's even more interesting, though. Okay.
So and he came over here, and what brought him over here was work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got a good job over here, and he started working.
Very nice.
So he got his field job though.
Oh,
Lucky.
good.
And yeah, so that's how he moved to Brandon.
Okay. Do you find that there are a lot of people from your community here in Brandon? Like, are there a lot of other Indians or people who from your area of India here?
Yes, certainly. I did not know this before I moved to Brandon though. That there are more than 800 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from India, and in fact from the community which I hail from. They're all
nice.
over here, and in fact we even established so many connections back home, and they would know my
really
relatives,
nice.
and somehow they would be related and things like that. So it's pretty interesting, and it's pretty heartwarming because you meet and make friends, and all of a sudden you find people from back home, and that just makes the life easier, I guess, when you're in a different country, in a different place.
Do you think it's helped you maybe settle in Canada much more, that you've got those connections and everything?
Yes, certainly. In Toronto, although there is a huge Indian community in Toronto as well, but people with busy schedules, they don't have time.
I see. So it's hard to meet with each other.
Yeah, it's difficult to meet. Over here in Brandon, you could find time and meet people.
Because your commute is so short, right? You take the 15 minutes to get home, come over for a tea. It'll be lovely. That's good. Now, I've talked to quite a few people from other countries of the world, and they always tell me that for them, the hardest thing to get settled into a community or to get settled in Canada is that they have a hard time finding the suppliers or the ingredients to make food that they're familiar with from their back home. Yeah. Have you found that it's been difficult to get those sorts of things?
Yes. But we don't have to go as far as going back to India to get those things, because in Winnipeg you should be able to find
very nice.
almost everything. So usually what I've been doing, and what I've seen people doing as well, is that they go to Winnipeg and they would get the supplies and have it stored for like 4 to 6 months, which makes it enough time because now and again people don't go to Winnipeg, and the superstore over here as well has a lot of
that's nice.
A lot of things, whatever you ask for, basically you should find it.
There is quite a big selection of international foods in superstore. You're quite right about that. So when you're looking at buying your place, you're going to need a very big pantry then, right? So you can store all of your things for the 6 months.
Certainly.
That's good. So now that you've been in Brandon for a little bit and you've sort of settled a little bit, what do you do for fun? Or have you had time to have fun yet? Because you've been a little bit busy in the past little bit, if I understand.
Yes. Last year I got the opportunity to go tobogganing. So
was it the first time you'd done that?
Yeah, that was my first time. and yeah, it's come on, it's for kids, but I enjoyed it as well.
I'll tell you a secret, all adults like to go tobogganing. We just don't tell anybody yet.
It was fun.
That's good.
I tried ice skating in Toronto. And and not so bad experience, because I know how to skate using the roller ones. But yeah, those blade ones are different.
Yes, they are. Did you
quite
fall
different.
a lot?
Oh yes, I did. Everyone does.
Yes, we do. I haven't skated in years, and I imagine if I ever go again, my face will probably meet the ice quite nicely. So if there was anything that you could have here in Brandon, be it a store, like a kind of park area, or anything like that, that could make Brandon feel more like home for you, what do you think that would be?
Actually, it's already like quite comfy in Brandon, because there are already so many people, and I've seen that we have a lot of festivals in my culture.
Yes.
So they are organizing all those things, and they find places.
Oh, very nice.
I've even found people really being helpful, like they would rent a few places, and it's easier to organize that way. So in fact, a lot of activity happens in Knox United Church. And those people are so helpful.
Yes, they're very nice.
They're extremely helpful, and so a lot of gatherings take place over there.
Oh, that's good.
And they celebrate a lot of stuff, like you have Navratri over there.
Ooh.
Yeah, people have Diwali dinner over there.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. And people are helping. And I found that Brandon's quite warm, and people are very helpful. It's not like being in a big city where people don't have time to help you.
That's the nice thing about it being so small, right?
Yes.
We're a bit more friendly, and we're more willing, I find, to help out as well. That's good. So what is your favorite thing about living here in Brandon? What do you like the best out of being here?
Well, as of now, I don't...
Is it hard to think of one thing?
Oh yes, that's what I was coming to, because being in Toronto, I was complaining that I'm away from home and things like that. But being in Brandon, and finding a job here, and thinking of getting settled here, I could bring my mom here as well.
Oh yes.
So she's visiting me right now.
Oh, that's nice.
So it just makes it more easier.
Yeah.
And since I have so many people from my community over here as well, so she doesn't get bored.
Oh, that's good.
Otherwise, the winter can freak you out, right? Yes. Especially if you come from a place where it's plus 40, and then you're immediately in minus 40,
yes.
And then you'd be like,
not so much
happening?
Of a culture shock, it's a weather shock too, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So would you recommend living in Brandon to other, even international students, not necessarily from India specifically, but from anywhere else in the world?
Certainly, yeah. And while I was in ACC, they had a lot of international students from other countries as well.
Oh, good.
I met people from Russia, from Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
Yep. A few Ukrainians as well.
Okay.
Studying here. So I guess I met a few people from Argentina and Peru and things like that. China.
Okay.
So you have a lot of people.
We certainly do.
Here.
I'll have to look into this a bit more. Apparently I don't know everything that I think I do.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, it's good. All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Or you're all good?
I'm all good.
All right, good, perfect. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed having you here.
Thank you, Sarah.
Welcome. So that's been our show for today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, today's show is brought to you by WCG TV and Westman Immigrant Services. Thanks very much for your time and have a good day.